now, pulling away from eastern Ukraine to Russia. Mary, Ilyushina is there. Mary, you've been helping us out a lot, giving us a sense of how Russians feel about the growing crisis. So my question to you is, how did Russians find out about this attack? And what has the messaging been to the Russian population about what's happening in Ukraine?
Of course. So Russians woke up with really sad news that Russia is attacking Ukraine, but the way it was presented to them on state TV is just a special military operation to liberate the separatist-controlled areas of Donbass in eastern Ukraine. And it was said that Vladimir Putin is essentially trying to free Russians from Ukrainian oppression, which obviously, Kiev has denied multiple times. There is no evidence that they were under any life-threatening conditions in those areas. So that is very stark difference from how it was reported by other independent outlets out here, because state TV said we're only attacking the separatist areas, while independent sources have tried to give the full picture of that Ukraine being attacked from multiple sides.
Leading up to this, it appeared as if Russian citizens, much like Ukrainian citizens, did not think an invasion was going to take place. We're not really taking this very seriously. I'm wondering what the mood is now. Is there an appetite for this sort of invasion in Russia? Is there an option to display dissent or dissatisfaction with Vladimir Putin's decision?
I think a lot of people didn't want to believe that it is possible up until the very last moment. So I don't think anyone expected that Vladimir Putin will actually go through with this and attack Ukraine. So it came as a shock and a surprise. And I've heard a lot of people, my friends, have been texting me all morning saying how terrified they are and how ashamed they are of the government's actions. And I think that's a sentiment that is quite prevalent here. But it is very difficult to put that out on the streets, for example, because Russia became so repressive in the past couple of years that just going on the street alone with a little poster might land you in jail and you might be given a sentence for speaking out about these things. So it is very difficult to express the support that Russians have for Ukrainians, and that obviously makes it very difficult to put any sort of pressure on Vladimir Putin's actions.
Vladimir Putin and how he thinks has been sort of a bit of a black box. But in recent days, he's taken to the airwaves. He was on last night and then earlier this week. And we saw from him a very clear indication about why he thinks Ukraine is part of Russia, why he thinks that he has a justification. And the language, I think, has changed. But I want to ask you, he talked about a genocide taking place in Ukraine. He talked about Russia, that Ukraine wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Russia. These are sort of things that everyone knows is not true. Has there been a shift in Putin's tone in recent speeches?
I think there were signs leading up to it because, especially during the pandemic, Vladimir Putin has written a lot of historic articles based on history, and he's kept saying that he's working with various archival documents that date back to World War II. So there was signs, but I don't think anyone expected this all to come out in his speeches that really undertake historic revisionism. Saying that Ukraine is a thing that is created by Russia is obviously something that pretty much, I think, every Ukrainian will disagree with. So this dramatic shift has really happened in these past, I would say, a year and a half, because we've only heard him, obviously accusing Ukraine of not sticking to the Minsk agreements, the peace agreements that we had ongoing since 2015. But he really took it a step forward with claiming that Ukrainians are conducting a genocide against Russia, which seems to a lot of people out of completely the realm of sanity at this stage.
All right, Mary, you are along the border with Ukraine on the Russian side. Thank you very much.